प्रमुख स्वामी सुखकारी, प्रमुख स्वामी सुखकारी, ये संत परम हितकारी।
गाथा महापुरुषनी संत परम हितकारिणी, गाथा महापुरुषनी संत परम हितकारिणी।
महापुरुषनी आछे कथा प्रमुख सुखकारी।
No man can serve two masters. This was a statement that Swamishri would completely disprove along his life. Just as he was an ideal Guru Bhakt under Shastriji Maharaj's leadership, he continued to perform Guru Bhakti in Yogiji Maharaj's association. Shastriji Maharaj often declared, "Hu te yogi, ne yogi te hu," that I and Yogiji Maharaj are one and the same. Swamishri truly believed in these words and therefore saw no difference between Shastriji Maharaj and Yogiji Maharaj. The love and dedication Swamishri had towards his beloved Guru Shastriji Maharaj would be the same love and dedication he would continue to have towards his current Guru Yogiji Maharaj.
Yogiji Maharaj often used to say, "Donko mari devoche," which in English means he wanted to let the bells of Akshar Purushottam ring all over the world. And it was with this enthusiasm that he set out on Vitran to Africa to kickstart the satsang there. After having traveled to Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, he then returned to India and he commenced his domestic Vitran. Now, wherever Yogi Bapa went, grand welcome assemblies, Swagat Sabhas, were arranged, and this included Ahmedabad, Bhavnagar, Rajkot, Gadara, Bochasan, all these different places. Swamishri was always present looking after the arrangements for these sabhas. He only had one wish: for the entire world to understand the glory of Yogiji Maharaj.
During one such vichran, Yogiji Maharaj, Mota Swami, Pramukh Swami and some sadhus sat on a train travelling from Botad. It was late evening. Swamishri was well aware of Yogiji Maharaj's tendency to feel cold very easily. To ensure that Yogiji Maharaj was comfortable, he stood up and shut all the windows in the train compartment that they were sitting in.
Now, to think that Yogiji Maharaj can't bear the cold is a well-known fact amongst the Haribhaktas and to the Santos. But to actually act upon it at the right opportunity would only be possible if there was genuine Guru Bhakti. Now, with the windows closed, after a short while, the temperature in the train compartment started to rise, and Mota Swami stood up and he said, "Who closed all the windows?" He then directly told Swamishri, "It must have been you who closed the windows. Why don't you open them?" Swamishri humbly requested Mota Swami that Jogi Bapa will feel cold. It'll be better if you and I change the compartment instead.
And hearing these words, Mota Swami moved to another compartment when they reached Jarila Road station. In this way, by seeing Swamishri delving deeper into the smallest of details to ensure Yogiji Maharaj's convenience, all could see and be witnesses to his ever-increasing Guru Bhakti. In Anand on 24th May 1968, the sadhus and devotees were invited for lunch at some dharmashala. After duly fulfilling the invitation, Yogiji Maharaj was ready to leave and thus began walking to the car of a senior devotee of Anand, Manibai Jivabai.
Pramukh Sai Maharaj noticed that the car had been parked out in the sun. Now, it was May and the afternoon time, which meant that it was incredibly hot. Before Yogiji Maharaj could reach the car and sit inside, Swamishri quickly rushed ahead and he placed his hand on the car seat to check the temperature. And his assumption was correct. The seat was very, very hot. In fact, it was too hot to sit on.
The question lingered. What actions could he take immediately for Yogiji Maharaj's convenience? Ati snehaha khalu karya darshi, meaning intense love always reveals a way out of difficulties. And indeed, Swamishri's adoration for his Guru demonstrated the way. He quickly took the gatariyu of a nearby Parshad, Jai Krishna Bhagat, and covered it nicely over the entire seat. Yogiji Maharaj soon sat comfortably in the car, and Swamishri watched its speed towards the mandir.
The love Swamishri had towards Yogiji Maharaj was reciprocated by Yogiji Maharaj. He would time and again sing Swamishri's glory as well. Though Yogiji Maharaj sung Pramukh Swami's glory frequently, Swamishri never allowed others to entertain the possibility of him being revered alongside Yogiji Maharaj. This was a fundamental characteristic of Swamishri's unblemished loyalty to his Guru.
There's a Sanskrit verse Pramukh Swami Maharaj often used to quote from a 9th century text. It states, Manasyekam, Vachasyekam, Karmanyekam Mahatmana. It means the great ones act and think just as they speak. We're fortunate to have been accepted by such a great spiritual master, Pramukh Swami Maharaj himself. Surely he traveled the world to reach us where we were, to speak to us, to teach us. And when he was away, he was accessible over the phone or through correspondence. His words were so uplifting, so empowering. But they were also solidly backed up by his actions. This not only gave his words more weight, but it also made his words so much clearer. It helped us understand, experience, and witness what it was he was trying to tell us. Something Swamiji often spoke to us about was having singular devotion towards one's Guru. But this was not something only that he said. His actions also breathed life into these words. Let me explain. In the early 1960s, Pramukh Swami Maharaj was once with Yogiji Maharaj in the city of Ahmedabad. It's a common practice in our fellowship for both swamis and lay practitioners to conduct a personal prayer ceremony each morning called Nitya Puja. And the Guru's own Nitya Puja is a special occasion that people from all over come to witness.
Now once, while in Ahmedabad, there was a devotee named Prabhashankar Bhai Pandya. He came very early in the morning for Yogiji Maharaj's darshan. Yogi Bapa was doing puja. But by the time he came, there was, a very large number of devotees had gathered and filled the mandir's very small hall. So because there was no scope to enter the packed hall, Prabhashankar Bhai, instead then he decided to go to the upper hall where Pramukh Swami Maharaj was performing his puja. As soon as he came and sat down, Pramukh Swami Maharaj asked him, "Why are you here?" And Prabhashankar Bhai explained that, there were too many people down there in the hall. And so that's why I'm not there. And immediately Pramukh Swami Maharaj asked him to go downstairs and saying that you will only find moksha in that crowd, hinting that moksha ne, Yogi Bapa chane tyaj moksha. Wherever Yogi Maharaj is, that's where you will find moksha. And then he went on saying that Anya kai nathi, there's nothing over here. So you'll find nothing from me.
Prabhashankar Bhai obligingly made his way to Yogiji Maharaj and settled himself amongst the dense congregation. Drawing attention to oneself is but natural. Swamiji, though, was different. He didn't need any of that. He was confident, he was secure, and he knew his role was first that of a disciple. And so he preferred to stay in the background and to draw people's attention to Yogiji Maharaj instead. His singular focus was Yogiji Maharaj, and he encouraged all those who crossed his path to similarly dedicate themselves to Yogiji Maharaj alone. A similar incident occurred a few years later in a village in west central Gujarat called Acharda. There was a Swami named Pragat Bhagat who had taken a seat in the mandir courtyard for his own daily morning puja. He carefully unfurled his puja cloth, laid out the printed murtis of Bhagwan Swaminarayan and each of the gurus, and faithfully invoked their presence. Just then, Pramukh Swami happened to pass by, and he noticed that alongside the images of the gurus was an image of himself. You see, for several years now, Pragat Bhagat had been accompanying Pramukh Swami during his travels. He was, in fact, there to help, but he was quite young. And so while he cared for Pramukh Swami too took great care of him. Furthermore, Pramukh Swami's way of carrying himself about was such that one couldn't help but hold a deep reverence for him. Let's also not forget that Shastriji Maharaj and Yogiji Maharaj too had established him as an elder. All this is perhaps what led Pragat Bhagat to keep an image of him in his puja set. But to Pramukh Swami, it all felt blasphemous, since he never let any sort of greatness get to his head. As soon as he saw the image, he bent over, picked it up, and tore it to pieces. Visibly upset, he asserted, "So long as Yogiji Maharaj is with us, it's not right to keep photos of anyone else. There's only to be one guru at any given time."
Remain within Yogiji Maharaj's Agna and perform seva and satsang. Swamishri had embedded these words of Shastriji Maharaj in his heart. Yogiji Maharaj's word and Swamishri's life were akin to a sailor and the wind. A sailor's sail sets only according to the winds. Similarly, Swamishri's mind adjusted itself to set only according to Yogiji Maharaj's Agna. Perhaps the greatest measure of Swamishri's loyalty towards Yogiji Maharaj was in the extent to which he followed, upheld, and executed each and every Agna that Yogiji Maharaj placed on him.
Pramukh Swami Maharaj had very few possessions to his name. 2 sets of clothes, a wooden bowl to eat from, a diary and pen, his Nitya Puja. But one possession that meant the world to him was a particular mala, a set of prayer beads. This mala was special because Bhagwan Swaminarayan himself had used it more than a century ago. Pramukh Swami's beloved guru Shastriji Maharaj too had prayed using it and had gifted it to Pramukh Swami before passing away in 1951. And so it was a sacred antique that reminded Pramukh Swami of Bhagwan and his guru. It was so precious to him, in fact, that he kept it with him in his daily puja. But then, something unbecoming happened.
There was a devotee from Mumbai who had been collecting prasadi, sanctified objects of Shastriji Maharaj. Once, on learning that Pramukh Swami was in possession of a sanctified mala, the devotee insisted that Swamishri give him that mala. Swamishri clearly told the devotee, "This mala was given to me by Shastriji Maharaj with the instructions of Yogiji Maharaj. There's no way I can give it to anyone." On hearing this, the devotee devised a ploy. He slyly suggested, "No problem. You keep the mala, but just give it to me for a while so that my relative staying here can have its darshan. I'll bring it back right away."
And so Baba said, "Look, I'm going to finish puja in about 5 to 10 minutes and make sure you bring it back by then." But this Hari Bhakta had absolutely no intention of bringing the mala back. And as soon as he took it, he left and never returned. Thereafter, whenever and wherever Swamishri met that devotee, he would always remind him about the mala. Because for Swamishri, that mala was a source of many fond memories. Yet, however, that devotee continued to give Baba false promises.
As if false promises were not enough, he even complained to Yogiji Maharaj that Swamishri was pestering him, reminding him constantly about the mala. And so one day, when Swamishri was performing puja in Ahmedabad, Yogiji Maharaj, he came holding the hand of that particular devotee. And Yogiji Maharaj casually remarked,
તો કે જો આપણે પ્રસાદી જે માળા છે એ આપણે છગનભાઈને આપી છે તો હવે તારે સંભાળશો જ નહીં મને કહે. પછી પાછું મને તરત વિચાર થયો કે જોગી મહારાજ કહ્યું છે એટલે બરોબર છે, ત્યારે મને માળા મળવાની તો નહોતી. સાચીમાં કંઈ ભણે તો જ તને આપું. જોગી મહારાજે ખાસ વિનંતી કરીને મને માળા મળી, એટલે એમના વચનથી મને મળી છે ને એમના વચનથી હવે એ કહે છે તો મારે ભૂલી જવાનું. એ ત્યારથી ભૂલી ગયા, એ ભૂલી ગયા, ગયું. પછી કોઈ દાડો સાંભળી નથી, વિચાર આવ્યો નથી, સંકલ્પ થયો નથી. એટલે કહેવાનું શું છે કે મોટા પુરુષની આજ્ઞા પડે તો આજે અંતરે શાંતિ છે, આનંદ છે ને સુખ છે. બંને પુરુષો એવા રાજી થયા છે તો આ બધું કામ થાય છે. તો કહેવાનું શું કે આ વચન ઉપર બહુ તાન આપણે રાખીએ એટલી આપણને સુખ ને શાંતિ પ્રાપ્ત થાય.
Eventually, with time, on the passing of that devotee, the Mara was actually returned by his family. And currently, that Mara has been preserved for darshan at Swaminarayan Akshardham in Gandhinagar.
Something Pramukh Swami Maharaj was well known for was inspiring the construction of majestic mandirs around the world. Many don't know, however, that he not only inspired mandirs, but in his early years, he even helped to build mandir complexes with his own hands. Whether that be Atladra Mandir, where he'd slink up along scaffolding structures to work on the building's spires, or Sarangpur Mandir, where he'd spend long days pounding limestone into building foundations, or Garida Mandir, where he'd sketch designs onto the stones to guide artisans on their carvings. That last Mandir, Garida, had been opened just after Shastriji Maharaj's passing in 1951. It had been 14 years since then, and there were extra stones laying around that had not been used. This mandir was also undergoing finishing touches, and another mandir was being built in Ahmedabad. And so Yogiji Maharaj asked Pramukh Swami to travel north to a town called Makrana in the state of Rajasthan. That town was famous for its marvel excavators and dealerships. Pramukh Swami was to head there to dispense of the extra stones and procure whatever new ones were needed.
To fulfill this wish of Yogiji Maharaj, Swamishri made his way to Makrana by train. And as usual, Bapa sat in a third-class coach because Bapa was never worried about his own comforts or own requirements. And he kept working as long as the day carried on. And at night time, he would sleep on the upper berth of the train. And at that time, no, he would not allow anyone to take any bedding from him. So he'd have a simple saffron sheet below, a single pillow under his head, and his own gatari to cover himself. And in the morning, he'd be the first person to wake and get ready. He would, even though the sevaks were there, he would never let the sevaks perform any of his duties for him. He would do all of those things himself.
The train soon arrived in Makarana. An ordinary worksite would be their home, and Swamiji's bed was none other than an unassuming slab of marble. Each day, he'd be out the door at 8 a.m., and he'd make his rounds through the dealerships until 2. It'd be sweltering hot outside. Yet after lunch and a quick break, he'd set back out at 3. He'd return at 8 p.m. and calculate how much stone was left to dispense. Sadly, there were many rough days on which he'd return empty-handed. Being so far away from home was difficult, particularly for the younger Swamis, Devcharan Swami and Pragat Bhagat, who were traveling with Pramukh Swami. Makrana's hardships were just too stiff for them. One day, they entreated Pramukh Swami, "We've been here for so long now, Swami. Let's hand everything over to a middleman and head back."
At that time, Swamishri, he consoled them. He said, "Look, we've been here for so many days, yet the stones are still not sold. I'm sure Yogiji Maharaj will divinely inspire someone. Look at Shastriji Maharaj. He built mandirs without considering day or night, neglecting his bodily needs. Amidst such hunger and thirst, I have not been able to contribute in any other way. How can I possibly leave this seva that I have received? If I go, then my chest will be torn apart. Yogiji Maharaj, he won't be happy. If I leave after so much work, then my seva is of no use. My life will be ruined. If there is any delay, any hesitation in abiding by Agna, then happiness and bliss will never remain in the heart."
You know, it's said that Yogiji Maharaj never tired of telling people of Pramukh Swami's virtue. Incidents like this one help us understand precisely why. I mean, Swami wasn't just a successful administrator. Those maybe can be found a dime a dozen. But what was infinitely more significant was what we see reflected in this incident. Swamiji's words reveal the intent behind his seva. They lay bare his selfless motivations, his earnest bhakti. That's what made Pramukh Swami Maharaj truly unique.
So in Sarampur once, there was a parayana going on, and the Hari Bhaktas there requested Yogiji Maharaj that Bapa Saranpur is Pramukh Swami's place. He used to be the Kothari here, and so it would be good if you could call him for the conclusion of the Parayan. Yogiji Maharaj accepted the request and sent a message to Swamishri, who was at that time in Gondal. Upon receiving Yogiji Maharaj's wishes, he asked the Sevak Sadhus to immediately prepare to leave for Saranpur at 5:30 p.m. the very same day. And the date of that prasang was 18th of June 1967.
At that time, 5 sadhus from Mumbai and 2 sadhus who had just been initiated during the Amrit Mahotsav, they requested Swamishri, "We wish to join and enjoy Labh of Vicharan with you. Can we come with you?" Swamishri suggested, knowing that the car was quite small, "You can all come tomorrow by train. The car is quite small and it will become congested and won't be comfortable for any of you." Swami had suggested this as he wanted to avoid inconveniencing others. However, these young sadhus were yearning for Swamishri's love. They insisted, "Swami, it doesn't matter. We'll be okay." Swamishri replied, "Okay, pack your potlas, show up on time. We should not be late in reaching Bapa. We want to get there for his darshan at night."
There were 9 people altogether. They'd have to twist and turn to fit in, and it would be an uncomfortable ride, but it was just a few hours away. They'd reach by evening, just in time for Yogiji Maharaj's darshan. So it wouldn't be too bad. Well, it wasn't supposed to be, but it seemed that Bhagwan had something different in store for this bubbly group of fellas. The first hurdle arose when the car pulled in. It was a rickety old Jeep. As luck had it, Hakabapu would be along for the ride. He was a lanky, animated man with hollow cheeks and a pointy nose and big flappy ears. He often accompanied Swamishri on his travels. Bapu was an utter perfectionist, and the moment something would go even slightly wrong, he'd explode like a candy bomb. Predictably, he saw the Jeep, and it was a 5-alarm fire. But what was even funnier was that Pramukh Swami would always be so incredibly calm, cool, and collected in the face of Bapu's antics. They were friends, so he knew exactly how to push Bapu's buttons. He listened to his buddy's spiel and answered with just 7 short words. "It's only important that we reach, right?" Swamiji was certainly right, and Akabapu knew it. All Bapu could do was sigh. He was disarmed, for now at least. With that, Pramukh Swami's 1-car motorcade departed. Hours later, at about 7:30 p.m., the car came to an abrupt halt. The roads were flooded, making it impossible to cross. As if that weren't enough, just as they were contemplating their next step, it began raining, and water seeped through the Jeep's roof. Expectedly, Hakabapu's balloon burst once again. "That's it. Where'll we go now? I've been screaming my head off to get y'all moving since 4 p.m. But you here take responsibility for a whole troop of people. There's so many heads in this darned Jeep, I can't even breathe. Speak up then. What do you want to do?" Swamiji answered in 6 stoic words. "Let's wait. The waters will calm." The waters raged on, yet Bapu's exasperated pleas settled once again when met with Pramukh Swami's patience. Soon thereafter, the group saw a beacon of light. It was a man with a flashlight.
Swamishri asked him, "Brother, when will the flood of this river recede?" The reply was, "Look, it may not subside. Even by the morning, it's rained quite heavily upstream. It seems that you'll have to turn back." "But turn back where? We want to go to Sarangpur," expressed Swamishri. They were told, "Then you'll need to take the Bhavnagar route. Go to Sarangpur via Valbipur and Barwara." Hearing this, Hakka Bapu was again frustrated. "Now what? Look what's happened. Sit down." Swamishri grinned at Hakka Bapu's ranting and raving. In the same humorous tone, Swamishri remarked, "Regardless of the route, our aim is to reach the destination, isn't it? And only when such instances happen do we realize the importance of labh." And in this way, Swamishri, he sat in the Jeep and resumed the journey.
And so they took the long route around, going via Valbipur and Barwara. And at 12:30 in the morning, they reached Barwara. And from then on, there was no fixed road to get to Saharanpur. It was a road filled with rocks, potholes, and a difficult road of 14 kilometers to Saharanpur. And so the road was very slow and the car was bouncing around. And again, who else started complaining? None other than Hakka Bapu. And so he said, Bapa, you've brought these poor sadhus along. Have you brought them to take labh, or have you brought them to get bashed up in the head while traveling on this bumpy road? You're the president of this Sanstha. How can you be traveling around in a car like this at a time like this? And so again, Bapa very calmly explained to him that, look, we've already reached Kamra. Saharanpur is very close. So let's keep a bit of patience. We'll reach there in no time. But as they reached Kamra, a new difficulty unveiled itself.
They reached a dip in the road that was, again, flooded. Pramukh Swami quickly got out and waded through the water to see how bad it was. It was just knee deep, and so he advised the driver to plow through it. The man did as he was told, but to everyone's surprise, the car stopped amidst the dip. It wasn't the water, but it was that the car's fuel had run out, adding further fuel to Hakka Bapu's fury. Oh great, then came the sarcasm. We're stuck out here in the middle of the night. Why don't we just hang out here all night in the pitch dark? Come on, tell me, who are you gonna call at this time of day? Pramukh Swami threw the puzzle back at him. Bapu, what do you say? Hakka Bapu shot back. You'd know that. Pramukh Swami's rejoinder was clever. He wanted to get Hakka Bapu moving, and he did so by using some reverse psychology. He said, Bapu, how about we do this? You take a seat here and look after our stuff. We'll walk to Saharanpur, and once we get there, we'll send a tractor with some fuel. The fidgety Hakka Bapu jumped straight out of the jeep and started plowing forth on foot as soon as he heard Swamiji. Yet another bullseye for Pramukh Swami Maharaj. Now remember that it was well past midnight. In fact, it was around 2:30 a.m. Who wouldn't be flustered? And this was Hakka Bapu of all people. Sure, he walked with everyone else, but it was rassam frassam the entire way. He was like a toddler, begrudgingly stomping along, trudging behind his determined mother. What a comedic scene it must have been. The troop finally reached Saharanpur at 3:30 a.m. They knocked on the gate and the watchman was shocked to see Pramukh Swami standing before him. At this time of day, in the wee hours of the morning, drenched, mud stains, Pramukh Swami? Indeed, it was him, and he'd come because his guru had called. The Swamis quickly entered the ashram, had a bath, and came to see Yogiji Maharaj, who was eagerly awaiting his beloved disciple.
Yogi Bapa's Mangal Pravachan was about to begin. Remembering Swamishri at the very beginning, Yogiji Maharaj asked, has Pramukh Swami arrived yet? And just at that time, Swamishri entered the room and answered, Bapa, I've arrived. Seeing him there, Yogiji Maharaj beamed with joy. He remarked, oh, this is Swami, meaning Shastriji Maharaj, who has arrived. All night we've waited for you. We hope you didn't face any troubles on your way, right? No, Bapa, Swamishri instantly replied. For him, when obeying the Guru's Agna, facing late night travel, ravaging rains, or tremendous difficulties, none of it was any trouble. Swamishri was never a sympathy seeker. He could not weep over his pains or seek attention for them. Instead, he relished facing difficulties if it meant following his Guru's Agna and pleasing him.
Swamishri often said, during Yogi Bapa's time, I never took a decision independently. When Yogi Bapa gave a command, we would follow. I imbibed one thought, to stay within Yogi Bapa's Agna. This was Shastriji Maharaj's instruction to the young Narayan Swarup Swami at the time. But Swamishri elevated these words to a higher level, a level where he maintained resolute Divya Bhav towards his Guru at the very core of everything he did.
Harijivan Swami was serving as the Kothari of Garada Mandir. Now, he was devoutly attached to Yogiji Maharaj, but he had a nagging doubt over Yogiji Maharaj constantly giving Gondal Mandir priority over other mandirs in terms of funds and resources. He felt like Yogiji Maharaj doesn't give equal attention to Garada Mandir. So while informing Pramukh Swami Maharaj about this much mused topic, he questioned Pramukh Swami Maharaj. But why doesn't anyone tell Yogiji Maharaj? I mean, you're the president of this Sanstha. Surely you should say so. It's understandable if other people can't. I mean, look at here in Gadara right now. We're short of sadhus. How long will those 51 sadhus in Bombay be kept there just like that?
Pramukh Swami Maharaj listened, and then as a friend, very patiently, very lovingly, he told Harijivan Das Swami that, Swami, sometimes when you have things set in your mind and they don't turn out the way that you envisaged, then we look at the Satpurush and we find faults in the Satpurush. He told Swami that the same Shastriji Maharaj that established this Sanstha, the same Shastriji Maharaj that built these mandirs, and the same Shastriji Maharaj that you became a sadhu for, that Shastriji Maharaj is Yogiji Bapa, and there's not a single bit of difference between the two. He advised him also, he spoke of his authority. He told Swami, you say of my authority, but my authority doesn't extend outside of Yogiji Maharaj's Agna. And Shastriji Maharaj told me to stay within Yogi Bapa's Agna. Whatever Yogi Bapa decides, whatever he does, is 125% final. He then very carefully and very lovingly advised Harijivan Das Swami that he shouldn't doubt anything that Yogi Bapa says or does. Keep full divinity in Yogi Bapa, and told him that everything that happens because of the grace of Yogi Bapa.
Swamishri's constant flow of words made a deep and lasting impact on the Kothari's thoughts. After listening to Pramukh Swami Maharaj's words of wisdom, he developed an extreme love for Yogiji Maharaj and spoke about Yogiji Maharaj's glory with a lot of enthusiasm. This was the kind of Divya Bhav that Swamishri had for Yogiji Maharaj. Once, Swamishri was asked that when Hari Bhakto donated money, Yogi Bapa would always send a major portion of it to Gondal. And at that time, you were managing the Sanstha's accounts. So when a Kothari from another mandir would complain to you, would you ever think to yourself, why does Yogiji Maharaj do this? Swamishri's response was clear. He'd say, no, I'd never feel like that. Everything happens according to his marji. He takes care of everything, so why would I think otherwise? Problems can arise. But one thing was for sure, and that was that if he willed it, then let it go to Gondal. All mandirs are ours. So some people felt perplexed because of these problems, but I never felt perplexed. So despite being intellectually acute and overall running the Sanstha, Swamishri never doubted his guru's doings even for a second.
In 1966, some devotees from a village by the name of Sardargarh, they visited Yogiji Maharaj and they requested Yogiji Maharaj to visit the village and complete the Murti Pratishta Mahotsav in Sardargarh. At that time, Yogiji Maharaj instantly agreed, and he even gave them a date. He said, keep the Pratishta on the 4th of November 1966, and together with Pramukh Swami, we will attend. Now at that time, the normal practice was whenever some devotees would ask Yogiji Maharaj to visit their village, to come for a Murti Pratishta Utsav, to come to a Sabha, to do a Padramani, Yogiji Maharaj would always, without fail, would tell the devotee that they will come, he will come, but they should inform Pramukh Swami and let Pramukh Swami fix all the details. But at that time, Yogiji Maharaj said yes himself. To the side of Yogiji Maharaj was sat a devotee by the name of Gunwant Dani, and he told Yogiji Maharaj that, Swami, maybe we should consult Pramukh Swami. But Yogi Bapa said no. He said, don't worry, just inform Pramukh Swami that I have said yes, that I will come, and the date has been fixed for the 4th of November 1966. Overjoyed, all of these devotees went to visit Pramukh Swami, and they told Pramukh Swami about their conversation with Yogi Bapa. At that time, Pramukh Swami Maharaj was slightly taken aback. He was surprised. He thought that this arrangement was slightly awkward and out of place, because at that time, many people who had recently been excommunicated from the Sanstha were living in Sardargarh. And Pramukh Swami Maharaj thought that if we go with Yogiji Maharaj, it might be a cause for some trouble. However, on the other side, Yogiji Maharaj had said yes, and so it was no issue for Pramukh Swami.
On the day, Yogiji Maharaj, Mota Swami and Swamishri, along with other sadhus and Hari Bhakto, reached Sardargarh. As soon as they reached there, Pramukh Swami Maharaj sensed that there was some kind of trouble brewing. Swamishri decided to quickly cut short the program. and return to Gondal at the earliest convenience. And so accordingly, they promptly concluded the Murti Pratishtha ceremony in Sardargarh, and everyone began to depart. Now, the individuals who had schemed to sort of disrupt the Pratishtha, they all stood there dumbfounded because their plans had been thwarted by Swamishri's sharp mind. Now, these individuals desperately tried to cause an issue in whatever way they could. And as the devotees started leaving the village in their respective vehicles, they all then began to pelt stones on their cars. Some of the car windows were smashed, bonnets were dented. Fortunately, no one was injured, and everyone was able to leave safely and quickly. Swamishri breathed a sigh of relief as the Pratishtha ceremony had smoothly completed according to Yogi Bapa's wishes. Everyone managed to leave the Samayo without any type of situation or any type of resistance.
However, the story of what took place in Sardargarh had travelled to Gondal. And of course, together with all of the Chinese whispers, a much more exaggerated story of what happened reached Gondal. Everybody was scared. Everybody was fearful. What if Yogiji Bapa was hurt? What if Pramukh Swami Maharaj was hurt? What if they were taken hostage? Some devotees even travelled to the Aksharderi to do dhun all night. Everybody was extremely concerned. On their way, as the car approached Vantari, Yogiji Maharaj instructed the driver, "Okay, please take the car to Junagadh. We'll stay the night at a devotee by the name of Bragji Bai's house. Because some time ago I had promised him that I will stay at his house." They got to Junagadh and they stayed there the night. On this side in Gondal, everybody's fears were confirmed. Where is Yogiji Maharaj? Where is Pramukh Swami Maharaj? No word from them. Everybody feared the worst. Nobody slept a wink the entire night. The next morning, of course, Yogiji Maharaj with Pramukh Swami Maharaj, the car rolled into Gondal and everybody was fine. So everybody was extremely relieved. However, leading devotees, they arranged a meeting at 4 p.m. that evening on the 5th of November in Gondal. In the room on one side was Yogiji Maharaj, Pramukh Swami and Mota Swami. And on this side were all the senior devotees. The atmosphere was very, very tense. And on everybody's mind was one question. That in villages such as Sardargarh, Manavadar, there was a big population of people who had recently been excommunicated and were obviously very, very hostile towards the Sanstha. So who sanctioned this? Who said that it was okay for Yogiji Maharaj, Pramukh Swami Maharaj, to travel for this pratishtha when they knew this? Everybody looked at Yogiji Maharaj. Yogiji Maharaj said, "Okay, why don't you ask Pramukh Swami? He organized everything and I didn't have a single clue."
Now, with these words, Yogiji Maharaj again put his head down and he continued to do Mara. Everyone in the meeting looked at Pramukh Swami Maharaj, including Gunwandani. He was completely taken aback at hearing what Yogi Bapa had just said. This is because he himself had witnessed that this program had been organized solely by Yogiji Maharaj, and that too without Swamishri's prior knowledge. He was further puzzled because, although aware of the fact, Yogiji Maharaj shifted the responsibility of organizing the program on Swamishri. So Gurunat Bhai's curiosity to know how Swamishri would respond to Yogiji Maharaj's remarks was palpable. As soon as Yogiji Maharaj had held Swamishri responsible for organizing the visit to Sardargarh, all the other Haribhakta immediately began their onslaught and they started ripping Swamishri apart with all these heart-wrenching jibes and taunts. They all began to tell him off. Now, unaware of the reality, these Haribhakta harshly criticized Swamishri. They accused him of unwillingly organizing the program without thinking about the consequences, without thinking about Yogi Bapa's safety. And when the grilling finally ceased, Swamishri folded his hands and he apologized. And he goes, "Sorry, I made a mistake. It won't happen again." At that very moment, Yogiji Maharaj, who was still turning his Mara, he lifted his head a little and again focused his eyes on Swamishri. But this time with unparalleled affection. Gurunat Bhai clearly saw a surge of Rajipo from Yogiji Maharaj's eyes. Gurunat Bhai felt, having passed the most testing of times unflinchingly, Yogiji Maharaj's Shishya was being completely showered with his Guru's Rajipo. Whenever the time or situation demanded, Swamishri possessed such great acumen that he could even best the most eloquent of orators or logical of lawyers. Yet at the same time, Swamishri also possessed such spiritual depth, such loyalty to his guru, that he would go to unimaginable heights merely to uphold his guru's words. Swamishri once himself said, "It doesn't matter if we are seen as wrong, but for him, we must." During Yogiji Maharaj's time, this happened to me so many times. Yogiji Maharaj would outrightly say, "Pramukh Swami Maharaj knows everything." Everyone would then come to me. However, what problem would we have in looking wrong for him? Nothing. One can only think in this manner when one perceives complete divyabhav in one's beloved.
Pramukh Swami Maharaj was once in Gondal, and the Ankut festival was just 2 days away. And so normally Pramukh Swami Maharaj would celebrate the festival of Ankut in Sarangpur. And so before leaving Gondal, he went to Yogiji Maharaj and asked for permission to leave. So Yogiji Maharaj then asked him, "How are you leaving? How are you traveling to Sarangpur?" And Pramukh Swami Maharaj said to Yogi Baba, "Baba, the arrangements will be worked out and I'll take a bus." And as soon as he heard this, Yogiji Maharaj said to Baba, "No, we can't let you take a bus like that. There's a jeep, mandir ma jeep padi che, take that." So Yogi Maharaj, very enthusiastically arranged a jeep for Swamishri. They loaded the jeep with all the luggage and whatever necessary, the materials that they needed to take for Ankut. And then the journey began. But as soon as they got to the gate of the mandir, the gears of the jeep, they actually jammed and the car got stuck. They tried a few things, but the jeep just didn't move. And so then everyone got out. They pushed the jeep back to the Ryan tree. They put it back to the courtyard. And then they unloaded all the luggage.
At that time, Pramukh Swami Maharaj didn't have anything to do. Yogiji Maharaj was in Aram in the afternoon. So Pramukh Swami Maharaj sat on the steps of the mandir, kept busy with some work, and whenever some devotees would come, he would sit with the devotees. He sat all the way until 3:30 in the afternoon, where Yogiji Maharaj woke up from his rest. Yogiji Maharaj saw Pramukh Swami and he was shocked. "Okay, Pramukh Swami Maharaj, you're still here?" At that time, Pramukh Swami Maharaj explained what had happened. So Yogi Baba said, "Okay, take this black car." So for the second time that day, Pramukh Swami Maharaj and party, they loaded all of their luggage into the black car, got into the car. This time the car made it out of Gondal Mandir gate, but only as far as the college square in Gondal. And because of some fault in the engine, the car wasn't able to take them further anymore. For the second time that day, the Santos got out of the car, turned it around and pushed it all the way back to Mandir. Swami's original plan was to leave Gondal by 12 p.m. But now it was 7 p.m. and Swami was still in Gondal. All that work to do in Sarangpur, but Swami couldn't be there. Still, Swami was extremely calm.
Again, Yogi Baba found out that the second car broke down. So then he insisted that another car be sent for Swamishri. So they brought a third car. All the others, they started mumbling, "Oh, we should just take a bus, whatever." Pramukh Swami Maharaj, very, very calm. And then Swamishri had previously used this car. Now this car number 3. Swamishri had already used this car for 3 months previously, and he knew everything about this car, that the car would have issues. But because it was Yogi Baba's wish, so Pramukh Swami Maharaj didn't say anything. Yogi Baba blessed them, saying, "Jao, tame pachi jaso, nothing will happen this time. You'll make it, nothing will happen." And off they went. But this time the car suffered not just 1 but 2 flat tires. And the funny thing was, it happened even before they got to the gate. Before they left the mandir premises, 2 flat tires. Pramukh Swami Maharaj stepped out of the car and Swami was laughing. Finally, he decided to take a bus to Sarangpur and he began to walk towards the bus station.
When Yogiji Maharaj saw this, he asked him, "Where is Pramukh Swami?" Somebody told him, "Swami, Pramukh Swami Maharaj has gone to the bus station." Yogi Baba immediately sent a yuak. He sent a youth, "Go call Pramukh Swami Maharaj back this instance." When the yuak got there, when the youth got to Pramukh Swami was just about to board the bus. He heard Yogi Baba is calling him back. And without a second's hesitation, Pramukh Swami Maharaj returned to Gondal. At that time, Yogiji Maharaj had arranged Arun Bhai's car. Arun Bhai was going to bring his DeSoto car to Gondal, and he was going to take Pramukh Swami Maharaj to Sarangpur that evening. For the 4th time that day, Pramukh Swami Maharaj and the Santos loaded the car with their luggage. They got into the car, and thankfully that evening at midnight, the party reached Sarangpur. You look in this prasang, how much Pramukh Swami Maharaj had to tolerate. He was extremely busy. The Angkot festival was only 2 days away. There's so much work to do in Sarangpur. Pramukh Swami Maharaj lost an entire day's work. All the effort of loading a car, unloading a car 4 times, pushing the car 3 times, anybody else would have been overcome with frustration. When we look at Pramukh Swami Maharaj's life, we've all seen that he was more inclined to punctuality and doing things properly. And if anyone tests your patience like this, anybody else would get annoyed. But none of this affected Pramukh Swami Maharaj. Sadguru Nishkaran Swami writes in the Bhaktan Chintamani, ke je je leela karo tame lala, tene samaju alaukika khyala. And in this prasang, we can see the unflinching divinity, Divya Bhav, that Pramukh Swami Maharaj had for his Guru, Yogiji Maharaj.
The virtues of Swamishri's Guru-Bhakti in the form of unwavering loyalty, relentless perseverance to follow Agna, and unshakable Divya Bhav were perhaps best displayed during the grand build-up and execution of Yogiji Maharaj's 75th birth anniversary celebrations. We joined this event in the summer season of 1967.
There were meetings in Gondal where they were doing some serious discussions for the venue to celebrate Yogiji Maharaj's Amrut Mahotsav. Although Yogiji Maharaj's wish would naturally be for Gondal, he was hesitant in presenting this in front of the senior Santo and Hari Bhakto. Gondal had a shortage of water at the time, and so to hold a festival there might be a difficult task.
એટલે એ રીતે પાણીની ખેંચ છે એટલે બધાએ જાણ્યું ભાઈ અહીંયા જો કરશું તો આ પાણીની મુશ્કેલી બહુ થશે માટે બીજે ક્યાંક કરીએ એટલે અમારા મગનભાઈ સેક્રેટરી હતા એક આપણે બોચાસન કરીએ બોચાસન બહુ સારું સરસ પાણીની સગવડ ભગવડ એટલે એમને જરા ત્યાંની મહંમદ એટલે એ પ્રમાણે એમને સજેશન એ કર્યું મોટા સ્વામી હતા આપણા એ અટલાદરામાં બધી સગવડ બહુ સારી છે ત્યાં પણ થાય એ ખેંચા તન ચાલી પછી કે આ પાણીનું અહીં છે એટલે પછી અહીં છગનભાઈને બધા હતા કે ભાઈ આ પાણીની સગવડ નથી એટલે આપણે અહીંયા સમય કરતાં બીજે ક્યાંક સગવડ થાય અને અનુકૂળ થાય ત્યાં કરીએ એ બધી વાતચીત ચાલે એટલે એ પ્રમાણે સ્વામીને પછી કહ્યું ભાઈ તમારી શું ઈચ્છા છે તો સ્વામી કહે પ્રમુખ સ્વામીને પૂછો એટલે આટલા બધા મોટા મોટા બેઠા છે ને મારી વાત મને પૂછવા મને ધીબી નાખે તો ઊભો ના થઈ શકું એવા બધા હતા બારોબાર મૂકી દીધું અને એ વાત કરીને પછી આપણે સમજ્યા કે એમની મરજી તો છે અહીંયા જ કારણ કે એ એમની રીતે ના કહી શકે પણ મનમાં આપણે સમજી લીધું છે કે સ્વામીની ઈચ્છા ગોંડલમાં જ કરવી છે એટલે પછી મેં કહ્યું ભાઈ આપણે ગમે તેમ થાય પણ સમયો આપણે અહીંયા ગોંડલમાં જ કરવો છે મોટા કારણ કે તું સમજતો નથી તને શું ખબર પડે પાણી ક્યાંથી લાવવાનો જે છે તે છે મગર ભાઈ બીજું તું બોલવા મંડી પડ્યા એટલે મેં કહ્યું જો સ્વામીની ઈચ્છા અહીંયા છે એટલે અહીંયા જો કરીશું તો બધી સગવડ થઈ જાય પણ ક્યાંથી થશે મને કે પાણી હું પાણીની પણ થઈ જશે એમની ઈચ્છા છે વરસાદ વરસશે નહીં હોય તો ક્યાંકથી પાણી આવશે તો આપણે અહીંયા જ કરવો છે એટલે એ પ્રમાણે વાત કરી પછી મેં પાણી જો અહીંયા ડેમ છે ને ઓલો ભાદર ત્યાંથી પાઇપલાઇન લાવીશું મને જેતપુર આગળ ભાદર નદીનો એ ડેમમાં પાણી ત્યાં હતું પાણી એટલે મેં ત્યાંથી આપણે પાણી લાવીને અરે કે અત્યારે રાત થતી છે મને કે મોટા સ્વામી કહે તું વિચાર વગરની વાત બોલ કરે છે પાણી લાવવું કે કંઈ શહેરમાં છે તો થશે મોટા સ્વામી તમારે શું તું સમજે પછી મને કે આમ છે ત્યાં અટલાદરામાં શું ખોટું છે મેં અટલાદરામાં સારું છે પણ હવે સ્વામીની મરજી અહીં છે એટલે આપણે અહીંયા જ કરીએ તો શું ખોટું પછી એ કરતાં બધી જે બોલે કે હવે ગોંડલ કરવું જો કે બાપા બહુ રાજી થયા પછી સભા મિટિંગ થઈ રહી અને મને બોલાવીને વાત કરી કે તમે બહુ સારું કામ કર્યું અને ત્યાં પાછો નીચે નમાઈને 2 જ ધબ્બા થકાવી દીધા મને કે આપણે ગોંડલ અક્ષરડીમાં જ જોયું છે ને અક્ષરડીનો મહિમા વધારો છે અને આ તમે કામ કર્યું એટલે મહારાજ સ્વામી શાસ્ત્રી મહારાજ રાજી થઈ ગયા અને ડેરીનો રાજીપો થઈ ગયો તમારા ઉપર.
And so Swamishri shouldered the entire responsibility of sourcing the water and began zealously and tirelessly preparing for Yogiji Maharaj's Amrit Mahotsav in Gondal.
A few prominent devotees had the wish to invite the President of India, Dr. Radhakrishnan. In order to extend a formal invitation to the President, Swamishri, along with Mahant Swami, Rasikbhai Secretary and Hakkabai Kachar, reached New Delhi on the 6th of May 1967. And amidst the splendor of the Rashtrapati Bhavan, Swamishri met President Radhakrishnan on the 8th of May. Pujarilal Nanda was also present. Swamishri, on behalf of Yogiji Maharaj, ceremonially invited the President of India to the celebrations.
And the day later, on the 9th of May, Pramukh Swami Maharaj and everyone departed on a train from Delhi to Ahmedabad on the Delhi Express. The entire journey, from New Delhi all the way to Ahmedabad, Pramukh Swami Maharaj didn't say a word. The entire time, with a mala in his right hand and quietly repeating the Swaminarayan Mahamantra, Pramukh Swami Maharaj passed his entire journey. Now, not a day had passed since the meeting with the President of India, but there was no euphoria on Pramukh Swami Maharaj's face. He was the head of the entire Amrit Mahotsav festival, but the gravity of such a huge responsibility, not a wrinkle of worry on his face.
Now, whether it was the water management department, whether it was the publications department, building, the mandap, looking after the guests, accommodation, every single department, Pramukh Swami Maharaj was there, helping and guiding every department. As a result, his body clock was completely disrupted. He would sometimes end up having lunch at 4 p.m., dinner at 11, going to sleep around 2 a.m. Sometimes, seva would carry on throughout the night.
On one occasion, Swamishri checked the arrangements of water and uttaras in the village and then returned at 6 a.m. in a trot. He had performed seva throughout the night. However, as if habituated to such sleepless nights, he would again emerge in seva with the same vigor and liveliness the following day. Neither tired nor bored, neither lazy nor frustrated, Swamishri ceaselessly worked with a calm and composed disposition.
Now, just reminiscing on these sevas, Pramukh Swami Maharaj once said, that however sleepless the nights were, I never experienced even a headache. And Swami said that in Gondal, I hardly even slept. Just when I was about to sleep, somebody would come and wake me up. When I would sit down to eat, again, somebody would come and, call me for something to do. I had a lot of responsibilities during that festival. But with Swami's grace, I never experienced fatigue or sickness.
Swamishri had proactively and tactically worked hard to avoid any water shortages during the Amrit Mahotsav. To source water, 3 boreholes were dug, one in the farm behind the current situated cow barn, the second in the Gurukul campus, and the third elsewhere. However, there was no sign of water in any of them. Although these boreholes were dug according to the guidance of experts at groundwater level, all of these attempts happened in vain. Swamishri writes in his diary on the 19th of May, "We worked hard all day trying to find water. We placed 2 engines near Ashapura to pull water, however there was no success." Despite this, Swamishri didn't stop. Some people would go and tell Swamishri, they would criticize him, that bringing the celebrations to Gondal was a mistake. However, Swamishri's aim, his one desire, was to make Yogi Bapa's wish come true. And so he never shuddered for even a moment. Now for the Amrit Mahotsav, it was Yogiji Maharaj's wish to fill the Akshar Ghat located on the river Gondali with water, so that devotees would be able to bathe there. Water was to be brought through a pipeline from the pond, which was about 1.5 kilometers away. Now, to make this happen, a pipeline had to be set, and for that, Swamishri himself joined in with the Hari Bhakto in laying down the pipeline.
While Swamishri was toiling with blood, sweat, and tears to resolve the water issue for the celebration in Gondal, a local political leader's young son barged in swinging a hockey stick. He gloatingly asked, "What's the problem?" Someone explained the water crisis to him. On being informed of the issue, the young chap said, "I will intimidate, threaten, even beat the council members with sticks if I have to." but I will ensure that water reaches here on time. At that time, there was plenty of water in one particular well in Gondal. And this youth was suggesting that he could force the council to give them as much water as required. Considering his influence, it seemed likely that he could actually make the arrangements. So everyone rejoiced in their hearts. However, one person objected. Swamishri said, "Listen, Bapu, one should not do that." Swamishri remained patient. He explained, "Look, the members of the council are doing their duty. They are trying to fulfill our demands. Only that which happens through mutual understanding is of any good." Swamishri's answer reflected his honest, his upright and ethical character. He never endorsed the wrong approach, nor did he ever entertain the wrong person. Yes, the water problem was troubling Swamishri. It was also true that the influential young man would have accomplished the task in such a way that Swamishri would not need to worry, and the availability of water would safeguard the arrangements of the celebrations and actually add a feather in the cap of Swamishri's reputation as an expert organizer. Swami's saintly character refused to sacrifice principles to accomplish any task, whatever the result. This characteristic alone made Swamishri stand apart from others.
After resolving some of the water issues in Gondal, Pramukh Swami Maharaj addressed something else, another big priority on his shoulder. That was the Gurukul construction across the road from Gondal Mandir. A couple of months before, a fall of a terrace slab had postponed all the building works, and consequently in everybody's mind there was one question, that will this construction work be completed on time? When Pramukh Swami Maharaj visited the construction site, he uttered, "Okay, if only the work continues at double the pace, will it be done on time?" At that time, a devotee from Mumbai by the name of Yogiji Bhai, his responsibility was the building work of the prayer hall on the second floor. And so Pramukh Swami Maharaj inquired as to the progress. But Yogiji Bhai had some bad news, because some of the workers were working with him in carrying all the bricks and all the slabs to the second floor. All of the skin on their hands had peeled off. And so the work had come completely to halt.
And so how could Swamishri, someone who never wasted a second of his life, afford hours of delay? And so Bapa said, "Let's go, I'm coming." Bapa went in, picked up a pile of 12 tiles onto his head, climbed upstairs and unloaded them onto the second floor. And Yogiji Bhai was stunned, standing there with wide eyes and an open mouth. He just stood there staring at Swamishri. Okay, how could the Pramukh of a Sanstha, someone who's got the entire responsibility of an entire festival on his head, carry out such a menial task?
Work gathered pace, seeing Pramukh Swami Maharaj's efforts, and the prayer hall was actually completed on time. And for the festival, the prayer hall was used as accommodation for some of the devotees who visited. From this prasang, we can see Pramukh Swami Maharaj's management style. His management wasn't to compel other people to do work. He wasn't assertive. Pramukh Swami Maharaj never flexed his power, but he led by example. Pramukh Swami Maharaj was able to encourage, empower, and activate everybody around him.
Now, during the Amrit Mahotsav preparations, Pramukh Swami Maharaj had approached a Hari Bhakt by the name of Dayabai from the village of Devchhadi, which was really close to the site. Now, Dayabai was serving in a small area of the Mandir farmland. Pramukh Swami Maharaj asked him that, there's going to be a very big event, and as a result, there was going to be shortage of water. So, and a lot more water will be needed and used during these festivities. And so Swamishri had actually told him that it won't be possible for him to supply water for farming. And so, this time he should sow the crop accordingly.
At that time, Dayabai felt that his department had been sidelined. He felt bad and he sulked off home. When Yogiji Maharaj found out, Yogiji Maharaj said, "Okay, we have lost a farmer for no reason." And he told Pramukh Swami, "You should leave immediately for Devchhadi and try and convince Dayabai to come back." Amidst all of these preparations, such an enormous festival coming up, so many important, urgent, and critical tasks on Pramukh Swami Maharaj's to-do list, and this one small, irrelevant task. But Pramukh Swami Maharaj's attention wasn't on the task, but the person who gave the task, his guru, Yogiji Maharaj. Pramukh Swami Maharaj instantly put everything to one side, and he spent the entire day at Devshari, at Dayaba's house, begging him to return. We can see Pramukh Swami Maharaj's guru-centric approach to everything he done, and this was truly very unique.
From the beginning of June in 1967, various programs began as a prelude to the Amrit Mahotsav.
गोंडल गाम मान अक्षरधाम मान अने योगी बापा बिराजा छे निर्मल भक्ति प्रेम भावना जोन साचा साज सजाव्या छे तो ज्ञान गंग ત્યાં निर्मल वहती ने सौने स्नान कराव्या छे वाणी अमृत पीवा हरिभगत सौ देश विदेश थी आव्या छे शोभे मंदिर ऊंचा ऊंचा माड़िया शोभे मंदिर ऊंचा ऊंचा माड़िया ते माया रस पचरंगी ढालिया रे जोगिए आरस पचरंगी ढालिया रे जोगिए गोंडल ने गोकुल बनावियो गोकुल बनावियो जोगिए गोंडल ने गोकुल बनावियो गोकुल बनावियो हरि हेते हसे छे हरे दात की हरि हेते हसे छे हरे दात की कायम हृदये वसे छे भगति थकी रे कायम हृदये वसे छे भगति थकी रे जोगिए गोंडल ने गोकुल बनावियो गोकुल बनावियो जोगिए गोंडल ने गोकुल बनावियो गोकुल बनावियो 76 વર્ષે જોગી છે બાળ સમો 76 વર્ષે 76 વર્ષે જોગી છે બાળ સમો એવી મૂર્તિ મારા દુઃખ ને દમો રે એવી મૂર્તિ મારા દુઃખ ને દમો રે જોગીએ ગોંડલ ને ગોકુળ બનાવ્યું ગોકુળ બનાવ્યું જોગીએ ગોંડલ ને ગોકુળ બનાવ્યું ગોકુળ બનાવ્યું આજે વામન વિરાટ જેવો લાગતો આજે વામન વિરાટ જેવો લાગતો આજે વામન વિરાટ જેવો લાગતો લાગતો આજે વામન काग दर्शन कीधे ब्रह्म भागतो रे काग दर्शन कीधे ब्रह्म भागतो रे जोगिए गोंडल ने गोकुल बनावियो गोकुल बनावियो जोगिए गोंडल ने गोकुल बनावियो गोकुल बनावियो आ तो सोरठ ना साधु ने फावियो रे आ तो सोरठ ना बाबाजी ने फावियो रे जोगिए गोंडल ने गोकुल बनावियो गोकुल बनावियो जोगिए गोंडल ने गोकुल बनावियो गोकुल बनावियो गोंडल ने गोकुल बनावियो गोंडल ने
Due to Pramukh Swami's immense efforts, Yogiji Maharaj's Amrut Mahotsav was celebrated with great fanfare. A total of 3,582 volunteers from 136 villages had readily served during the grand celebrations. Even popular radio outlets such as the All India Radio, as well as prestigious newspapers, widely covered this event in detail. Because Swami understood the inner wish of Yogiji Maharaj, he could endure the challenging task of celebrating the Amrut Mahotsav in Gondal. In the end, he triumphantly accomplished that honorous feat, and in doing so, received the heartfelt Rajipo of Yogiji Maharaj in abundance.
Next time, we continue Swamishri's journey through a role filled with serving one and all. Through exhaustive vichran and pure seva bhavna, Swamishri silently served to please everyone with no regard for his own comforts. The climax point of this virtue would come together during the celebrations of Bhadra Mandir's Murti Pratishtha ceremony. Join us for episode 6, A Silent Sevak.
મને તો એમ જ થયા કરે છે કે આપણા કેવા ભાગ્યનો પાર આવે એમ નથી કે પ્રમુખ સ્વામી જેવા ગુરુનો યોગ થયો તેઓએ આપણને સૌને નિહાલ કર્યા છે. એ અનુભવ આ જીવન ચરિત્ર વાંચતા વિશેષ દૃઢ થશે. આ વાંચતા ખૂબ જ આનંદ થશે. સ્વામી બાપા નજર આગળ તરવરવા લાગશે.
कैसा जादू आप मिले हो स्वामी, कैसा जादू आप मिले स्वामी हम पे किया, हर खुशी से हमारा जीवन भर दिया, स्वामी भर दिया। दिल में तेरे लिए कुर्बानी रहे, प्रमुख स्वामी तुम्हारी कहानी रहे। जब तक धरती पे सूरज की रोशनी रहे, ये सितारे और चांद की वो चांदनी रहे। प्रमुख स्वामी तुम्हारी कहानी रहे, प्रमुख स्वामी तुम्हारी कहानी